Okay. Hey everybody. So it's Michael here. So I'm getting on here just a couple of minutes early. I don't think obviously anyone's on board quite yet, but just by way of introduction, I'm just saying that this is our Clearing Fear live teleconference, so to speak, over Facebook Live originally. And then this video will also be available on the Facebook group, maybe some other places afterwards. So just inviting you all to get settled in. We're going to wait a couple of minutes right now because it's a little bit before the hour. Just inviting people to come on board before I start the official part of the program. So welcome everybody. This is unusual. I know if you're used to working with me at all, to get live access, because most of what I do is done on recording and you're kind of listening to my voice. But it's a beautiful Sunday. It's about 2 o'clock in the afternoon here in upstate New York. We have people coming in from all over the world. So it's going to be a great opportunity to check in with people and to do some live clearing. So welcome everybody. I want to say as we are getting started here, it's just about at the hour. And I'll repeat these things a few times if you're just joining us. I want to say that if you have questions, comments, feedback, please feel free to post in the comments below this video. I may or may not immediately respond, just because I might be in the midst of saying something dramatically important. So, but I'm checking the comments and I'll go back later in this call and go back to answering some questions if there are any. I'll also give you some opportunities for some suggestions and some things to post throughout this talk. So, hey everybody, thanks so much for joining us. I'm just seeing everybody checking in. I'm seeing some of your comments flash across my screen. So again, if questions come in during the course of this, questions come to you, maybe you want to even write them down, or feel free to post them in the comments, and I'll try to go through, hopefully, the comments while we're doing this video. If for some reason I don't get to your question, I will respond by typing it out later. It's just great to see everybody on this recording. We have maybe about 60 or so people who indicated that they would come. I know that stuff comes up and Facebook is kind of a little weird sometimes, so people might end up catching this video later on. But welcome to everybody who's here and who continues to join us. People from all over the world. It's just awesome. Thanks for reaching out, everybody. I see all your comments. Super cool. Yeah. Hey, everybody. Cool. I see some couples that I know of are watching together, and that's awesome. That's my perfect thing. Cool to see you guys. Beautiful. Beautiful. Great. Hey, everybody. So let's just get started, because again, this is being recorded and the video will be posted to this Facebook group later. So anything that anyone misses, if you have to check out, do something else, if you have to, if you're ending up starting late, it's totally fine. We will be, everything will be recorded here. So let's just get started. Let's just arrive here in this space. If you've been doing other things today, it might be morning where you are, it might be evening, it might be the next day, depending on where you are in the world. I just invite you to take a couple of deep breaths and just to relax in for this time. So, and just to settle in. This is an energetic opportunity. It's a time to really grow and to evolve at a soul level and at a conscious level. And that's why I felt really strongly guided to put this out there. And I think the topic feels really interesting and really resonant with a lot of people. Fear, no matter what we want to define it as, so it feels resonant in a lot of different areas in life. In fact, we could probably talk about it in many different contexts, and we could call them all different forms of fear. So I felt prompted to create this program today so that we could really talk about it, but more importantly, give you an experiential process that's going to happen in just a couple of minutes. So let me just lay out what we're going to be doing during this time. I don't have a clear sense of exactly how long this will be, though I'm trying not to make it eternal, because I know all of us have things to do. My thought about this is I have some people who will be seeing this video who may not understand exactly the way my approach to working is, and to doing clearing work, and to the whole function of the subconscious and even past lives when it comes to our path of growth and development and evolution now. So I want to take some time to really flesh that out a bit. And for even though those of you who are familiar with that way of looking at things, it can be really cool to have a refresher and a deepening of that process. We're going to talk about the potential of how much choice do we really have in any given moment in life in terms of how we approach it. In terms of our conscious ability to choose versus how our choice is being shaped by our subconscious. So we're going to talk about that. More importantly, and I know all of you are energetically sensitive individuals, this video is being overlit by the power of spirit itself, as represented through our own consciousness here. And so there's energetic shifts and changes that are going to begin to happen even as we talk and before the formalized part of the clearing goes. And I just thought, as I posted on Facebook a couple of days ago, I thought that reminding each of us that not only is attending something like this, and not only is doing conscious evolutionary work, clearing work, healing work, really vital to all of us on an ongoing basis, but by showing up, making time out of your day for an event like this, you are actually helping to co-create the resolution of the consciousness of fear, and really a greater impact of the consciousness of love and harmony and peace and abundance and prosperity and all the things that we seem to need more of as individuals and as a collective here on the planet. And that's really important. So don't dismiss this, and don't even treat this time as a kind of casual time of like, well, maybe I'll learn a thing or two here. Yes, that might happen, but it's more important than that. You're consciously participating in your own evolution, and you're consciously, Spirit has indicated, from what I have read from others and also in my own guidance, that whenever we do this kind of conscious work, subtly or perhaps dramatically, we are actually impacting all beings. So every time we choose to transcend the energy of love, or to clear it, to resolve it, to be able to choose something more empowering, more loving, more healing in our own lives, we are helping to create and hold that consciousness for all beings, and helping to empower the energy of greater choice. Many people, as I said just a moment ago, many people on the planet do not really have the choice to choose something differently than what they're currently experiencing in life, because the capacity for choice is a product of consciousness. And until the internal, until our thoughts and our feelings, and in intersecting with that, our karma, until these parts of our being begin to loosen up, begin to just unwind and to resolve and to clear a little bit more, it's very difficult for us to choose more peace, more love, more harmony, more abundance. If you tell someone, hey, why don't you just choose differently? Yes, if someone could be absolutely present, completely in that moment, like they were a master meditator, they might have had a lot of karma before this time, but they were able to kind of come into a place of complete presence, then at that moment, yes, their subconscious would not be running the show for them, and they could really make a different choice. But it's even the capacity to be able to focus completely into the present moment is an advanced skill. So just take a deep breath in this moment. The energy is getting high in here, isn't it? So let's just talk about this for a moment and just break it down. Let's just break consciousness down for a moment, right? So this term consciousness could be also referred to as spirit, it could be referred to as thought, it could be referred to as God, it could be referred to as all that is. There's a lot of components going on. Different people call this field of all possibilities, this field where stuff is happening. It's the origin, it's the source, but it's also the place where we may be even creating things that are discordant, like energies of fear. There's a field, there's a an arena where this stuff is happening. And you can refer to that as God, though I don't like to use that term a lot, because for most people, whether they're religious or not, that term brings up an idea of a person sitting in the sky who's got ultimate control over your life, and who's going to maybe, if he is feeling in a good mood, maybe he's going to give you something good, or maybe he's going to, curse you with something bad if that deity feels like it. So I'd like to take that off the table a little bit here and just talk about consciousness. So we are already one. We are a unique emanation of that one power, that power we call God or Spirit or Source. That power isn't something out there or different than us. That power is the actual underlying truth of our own being right now. No matter what's going on in your life right now, what seems to be problems, challenges, issues, things that seem very difficult to figure out, no matter what those issues are, that doesn't change the fact that you are a unique emanation of Spirit. So there's that unique emanation part of you. There's that core of who you are. There's that divine identity, you could say. And then there's something else, right? There's something else added kind of on top of that, which we might call the content of our consciousness. So there's the consciousness, then there's the content. Those two things are not the same, though most of us unconsciously on our path believe that they are the same. We believe, even if we haven't really ever thought about this before, that what we think about, or what has been told to us, or what someone did to us, or what our parents did or didn't do for us, or what we can currently do, or what we feel like we can't do, we feel like that is actually who we are. And so we begin to identify and base a lot of our words and decisions and thoughts and everything upon that part of us that feels limited. And that whole capacity to do that is really basing our life upon a false identity. It's basing our life upon our content rather than upon the consciousness behind the content. Remember a moment ago I just said that the truth is underlying any thoughts or beliefs we may have been taught. The truth is that we are actually one with the consciousness in back of the content, also known as Spirit, also known as God, also known as Source. We're one with that, but we have this content, right? And many of us are misidentifying ourselves with that content, thinking, well, I'm too short, I'm too fat, I'm too old, I'm too young, I'm too poor, I'm too rich, whatever it might be, whatever the story is, so therefore I cannot do something in my life, or I cannot be something, or all of those misidentifications that we may make. So the question might be, where does this content come from, and what can we really do about that? So the content comes from us. No matter how we slice it, the content comes from us, though it doesn't come from us in the sense of, boy, I really feel like being in fear today. I really feel like being in lack. I really feel like being in challenges, problems, difficulties today. Content is not coming from a conscious choice that we're making. The content is created by often our unconscious reactivity to what is going on within us, is feelings, or this physical body, or the physical environment around us, or it's going on through reactivity to other people. What I mean by that, reactivity to other people or situations, is that ultimately other people, other situations, cannot actually make us into being limited. But if we take on and identify with what other people are saying to us, what other people think about us, what the economy says, what our parents say, what our teachers say, if we identify with what other people are doing around us or what they're directing at us, and we unconsciously say, oh, that must be, I trusted that person, that person over there, I really trusted their opinion, and they said, boy, you're not really very good at math. You're not, no one in this family has ever really made any money. We hear that well-meaning phrases said by our parents oftentimes, or other people in our life, that are, they're meant to kind of commiserate, help us to commiserate with what's going on in our lives and maybe make us feel a little bit better about ourselves, but they end up long-term programming us to identify with the content. Again, our parents or an authority figure who says, we've never made any money in this family, they cannot cause you to believe that. However, our consciousness is very, very permeable, especially when we're young. Our consciousness is very susceptible to influences around us and to picking up on what other people are saying. We might therefore subconsciously say, well, that person is someone I trust, that person is an authority figure, they're older than me, and therefore, yep, that must be who I am. So right there, we see just another example of that we begin to identify with the content. Now, I have this discussion with people I'm working with as clients a lot, and I try to be gentle and kind about this issue of we cannot ultimately really blame other people, situations, or circumstances for who or what we are. This also does not mean, though, that we should blame ourselves. Doesn't mean, well, I've been focusing on all that blame out there to, these people over there, but what I really should be doing is blaming myself. So the first step on a spiritual journey, oftentimes when we begin to feel that we have some power, we have some authority, we can actually do something about our situation, is we may take the blame that's been directed out, we may begin to direct it towards ourselves. And that is also, that's also problematic. What I'm saying here is that rather than blaming anything or anybody, what we want to do is we want to look at ourselves and begin to take responsibility for our consciousness in a kind of a more neutral, non-blaming, not adding salt to the wound kind of way. We want to be able to say, I'll just use myself as an example. I want to say, Michael, I've been really invested in blaming my past and parents, and this person said this, and this person hurt me, and blaming my religious upbringing and all that sort of thing. But I want to, in this moment, say, ultimately, I do have responsibility for my own consciousness. I may not have realized I had that in the past, but in this moment, I'm beginning to realize I have responsibility in my consciousness. I can actually choose, am I going to take on that belief from that person, from that news report, from what is so collective in the collective consciousness of fear? Am I going to take that on, or am I not going to take that on? Am I going to state that I am actually the authority in my own life experience, and that what I put out there, what I begin to think, what I begin to say, what I begin to do, is something that I actually can have some choice about? And to me, that's a healthy relationship to personal responsibility. So take a deep breath. There's a lot of clearing happening even already, but we're going to formalize that in just a few minutes, okay? So there's been, here's the kicker, here's the issue here, is that what we have set in motion in consciousness, in our own being, is still in motion until we begin to resolve that. So I want you to hear that again. The thing is, you might come to a realization in this current moment saying, well, okay, so that guy in that video is saying that I don't want to blame myself, I don't want to get down on myself, I don't want to get down on other people, but I have a responsibility that I can empower myself with, I can take courage on, I can say, well, I can begin to work with my own consciousness to begin to change things. Okay, so most of us are on that page already in terms of our belief about that. But here's the thing, is that what we have set in motion previously, often and mostly inadvertently and accidentally, in reaction to that person said that economy said that, this problem happened in my life, all the way down through challenges, traumas, things that are very, very serious. We begin to say that the things that have been set in motion in the past that have not yet been resolved and released from impacting me in a way of impacting my consciousness, they're still at play. This is what we begin to call programming in the subconscious. So think about a computer for a minute right now. A computer is kind of a neutral instrument. It works a certain way. It's not a good or bad instrument. It just works in a neutral way. Now, when the consciousness of the programmer goes in and says, I want the computer to do this, all the software, even the software we're using right now to be able to do this video, is all based on programming. Somebody with a certain intention came in to this software here in Facebook and said, I want this to be able to do this, and they worked it out, and basically the computer spits out exactly what it was told to do. It doesn't really have a judgment about it. The computer can't say, well, that's a good program or that's a bad program, so I'm going to choose to obey one of them and not the other. It's a neutral medium. Neither good nor bad, neither positive or negative, but the programming itself dictates what begins to come out. The same thing is really true of our own being. There's a genius behind how we have been created. The genius is that we are here in this incarnation, we're here in this life, and we're here in this soul that we are to learn how to work with consciousness. We're here to learn how to use this to be able to change our lives for the better, to be able to gain mastery of our own individual lives, and then to be able to really share that in some way with others. So everything that has been set in motion in our consciousness previously is still at play now, even though we may not remember what that programming is. People who completely don't believe in any kind of, there's nothing beyond the material, there's nothing beyond a bunch of chemicals randomly happening in the universe. People who believe in materialism only basically are not aware of this issue at all. And even if they are not aware of this issue of consciousness and the subconscious programming them, even in the current moment, it doesn't cease to be true. It doesn't cease to affect them. Now, people who are resistant to this viewpoint at all have to eventually go to a place of blaming something for who and what they are in this moment. Now, hear what I'm saying here. If you do not believe that it's your own internal consciousness that is creating your experience of life, and everything that has been created in your consciousness previously that has not been resolved yet is still impacting the consciousness in this moment, then you eventually have to go to blaming something. Well, it's my parents. It's my genetics. It's society. It's, whatever. It's your chemistry. Blaming your chemistry, blaming the physical world, the physical body. Eventually we have to come to that. Or unknown. That's what we see a lot in medical science. We see, well, we are not going to go deep enough to look at this issue from a holistic perspective. So just cause is unknown, it's random, it's genetic, it's chemical, it's whatever. Eventually we have to go into blaming something or someone else. And the reason for that is because this information has not been super clear. In terms of, it takes a certain amount of spiritual development and evolution to even be able to entertain this conversation in the first place. So, if you believe, for instance, as I was taught as a child, if you believe that your soul is created at your time of conception or your time of birth, you have no history before that, you're just here, blam, bunch of chemicals, you're just here. If you believe that, then the problem is going to be everything in your life is going to seem pretty much random at that point. Everything is going to seem like, well, it must be an external force called God or called the devil or it's my parents or whatever that is doing these things randomly to me. If I'm being blessed, then it's a random blessing coming from an external deity. If I'm having a problem in life, or we or someone we know is just having a constant difficult time in life, it must be because they're being cursed in some way by some external force. So what I'm talking about here, and this was very, very much foreign and rejected to me when I was younger, is this issue of soul's history, or the issue of past lives as well. So you are an infinite being who is having this human incarnation. There has been many incarnational experiences of your soul over the course of your soul's history. And there's been a buildup of, you might call, the programming I've just been mentioning that often runs things from behind the scenes. There's been a buildup of that energy over the course of really in eons of time. Remember, consciousness cannot be destroyed. Consciousness can only be really transmuted or resolved in different ways. And the reason for that is because consciousness is the very field of God, of spirit, of source itself. And our primary goal for each one of us, our primary purpose here on this planet, is to learn how to work with that, how to learn how to master that. When you learn to master and work with consciousness, you're learning how to work with God. You're learning how to work with spirit. You're learning the ultimate goal of this incarnational experience. And when you learn how consciousness really works, how to resolve things from the past, because we all have a past, how to begin to work with consciousness in a way that is useful, is holistic, is powerful, is empowering to you, you're really solving the whole mystery of how life works. It's an infinite progress that we are here to make, of resolving, of clearing, of healing, of opening. You might ask, what's the purpose of all of this? Why would we possibly be seemingly in such a difficult space of this human incarnational journey? So many problems that are so common in human experience. How could this possibly be part of the plan? How could this be possibly part of a divine universe or perfect creator? Or all these types of objections kind of come in. Remember, my answer to that is that creator is a presence. It's not a person. Creator is a presence that's personified in each of us. And as we progressively through our soul's history began to forget our oneness with consciousness, our oneness with source, as we began to identify with progressively denser and denser realities, we began to forget and we began to identify with, oh, that person over there hurt me. That belief over there has power over me. The belief that the physical world is the ultimate source and the ultimate cause of everything. That's called materialism. That belief that the physical world is actually all that there is. That is an illusory belief that progressively human consciousness has taken on with more and more density over the course of time. When you begin to identify with human consciousness, with physical five-sense reality as the only game in town, which I would say a lot of people in the world really believe. That's where they're at in their process. Then you have essentially blocked out the energy of God, the energy of source, the energy of where all of your answers actually are. You cannot actually get away from the fact that source is the truth of your being. As I said earlier in this video, you cannot get away from the fact that the truth of your being is actually still source. No matter what you believe, no matter what you think, no matter what challenges or problems you have, the truth, who you are, what is beating your heart, what is pumping your lungs, what is making possible for you to every moment by moment being alive and having your divine potential fully embodied within you in this moment, that cannot be taken from you. It can be obscured for a period of time, but it cannot be taken away from you. As you begin to work on this path of resolving, clearing, beginning to say, okay, I admit I have a long soul's history. What I have set in motion erroneously, based on my limiting, illusory beliefs about who I am, about what my purpose is, and about what life, source, spirit, consciousness actually is. You can begin to clean up your vibration. You can begin to clear. You can begin to resolve. You can begin to raise the vibration. This is also called ascension. This process is called ascension. You're not really ascending into anything other than consciousness, which is what you already are. So as you begin to release things that are lower, heavier, denser karmically, as you begin to clear that subconscious database, your consciousness begins to rise. And where is it rising to? Where's it going? It's just rising back into the identification that you have with that you are one with source. You are one with consciousness. You are one with spirit. You begin to rise out of the identification that I am simply what I can see, or I am simply what the experiences have been given to me, or what other people are thinking, or what the predominant prevailing belief system is about the economy, or about money, or about any of these things. You begin to rise out of that, ascending with a more transcendent awareness of, wait a minute, I can see there's challenges, there's things to work on, there's things for me to do here. At the same time, you begin to feel and sense and know the presence, spirit, consciousness behind all of that has already got your back. It's already, the field of spirit, as we begin to connect with it, has all of the answers already, because that's what spirit is. Spirit is source, spirit is intelligence, spirit is health, abundance, joy, healing, fulfillment. All of those qualities do not have to be given to you. They have to be realized in consciousness as we rise in consciousness, and we can do that by beginning to resolve and clear up the karmic database, is what I call it, the subconscious mind, the Akashic records. These are all synonyms, and they simply mean the accumulation of programming, of energy that we have falsely held and believed over the course of our soul's history. And I'm not just talking about a soul's history that's like, well, yeah, maybe I've had 5 lifetimes or 10 lifetimes. The soul's lifetime is really infinite. The soul's history is really infinite. And I say this to people to give them really an empowering context for why they might be having even chronic challenges in this lifetime. I want to say that very, very much less than 1%, even 0.1, even 0.01% of who you are is what you think of as your body, your history from birth till now. It's only a very, very small fraction of who you really are and where your soul has been over the course of time. And this can actually begin to help us, because when we believe, we might think, oh, I'm just fundamentally bad. We might think, well, I've always been this way, remembering our birth till now. I've always had these kinds of issues. I've always had these kinds of problems. So I just must be fundamentally bad. And probably all of us on our healing path have come to that belief at some point along this way that, wait a minute, I've tried all these things. I've done all these things. So in my life maybe has changed a little bit. Maybe it hasn't changed the way I thought it would be. So there must be just something fundamentally wrong. And so that's where spiritual clearing work that takes all of this into account and begins to work with the way in which our subconscious mind has stored and held energies, programs, limited consciousness throughout the course of our soul's history, and can begin to resolve that progressively. You know, it's not fixing a problem. We're not taking spiritual clearing work and going in and fixing a problem. What we're doing is we're going in, we're surrendering, we're releasing, we're going into the subconscious mind. And based on our unique readiness and willingness at any given time, this higher consciousness, this higher intelligence, this power of spirit can begin to go in and say, okay, you know what? Michael has really transcended the need for this particular area of consciousness. It may have been created over the course of hundreds of lifetimes. It may have been recorded and created hundreds of lifetimes ago. We can begin to resolve, take back, in other words, the power that's still invested in past places we may not have any conscious memory of, but it's still influencing us now, much like that computer analogy I talked about earlier. Consciousness is still invested in places of fear, limitation, lack, challenges from hundreds of lifetimes ago. We're experiencing the results of that now, much for the same reason that a computer, when it's programmed, it will continue to do that program until the program is deleted. We may not remember creating it. Most of us don't really remember a whole lot about why we're in the situation we're in, or even what we may be. Many of us are even having challenges with the awareness of what we're thinking, what we're doing, what we're creating on a daily basis. And so that factor, compounded over the course of hundreds, thousands, even hundreds of thousands of lifetimes, and an infinite soul's history, means that we are not going to have a conscious memory of many of these things. We're going to be experiencing the results of them right now, but we're not going to be consciously saying, oh yeah, I know exactly why it is I'm experiencing this particular challenge right now. That's when it comes into the experiential part of things. And that's what we're going to begin to enter into now. So all of this stuff I'm talking about here might sound like, well, okay, that's an interesting theory. Some of you may already believe this and are already in resonance with this. But, you know, it could be healthy to say, well, I have some skepticism about if this is really true, because you're only hearing my words about it. If it hasn't been true in your experience yet, there'd be no way of you knowing whether it's true or not. And so I want to give you some experiential work with this. And it's already coming through in this video as well, but we're going to take some time now to more intentionally work with it. And we're calling this video today Clearing Fear. And this issue about clearing fear, really, fear can be a very, very broad subject. As a matter of fact, fear itself can be used to almost describe anything that is limiting to us that we may have absorbed in consciousness. So fear isn't just one particular small category. Fear could be looked at as a much larger category. Fear is a lower level of consciousness. It's a consciousness that disconnects us in our awareness of the truth of who we are. Now, before we get into this experiential part of it, I want to say that the way that the subconscious works is that once we program it, most really unconsciously, we program it with something like fear. Say this happened 100 lifetimes ago. We had a very challenging, difficult situation that we reacted to with a lot of fear. That's just one small example. What begins to happen is that energy, by and large, especially when we're less evolved on our path, does not really get cleared or resolved in the context in which it was originally created. What happens is that we try to get through the situation, we try to cope with it, we might have tried to blame others, we try to move through it, and within maybe a couple of days or a couple of weeks, we begin to feel not as much intensity around that issue anymore. And we think, oh, okay, I've moved on. But what we've really done is we've mostly just repressed that energy. The nervous system in our body, our consciousness, if we have a certain thought or belief long enough, or even a certain pain in our body's tendency will be to try to get us to get away from having to feel it so intensely, so constantly, and that's called repression. We'll begin to repress the awareness that this energy is working within us. And we'll think, okay, the brunt of that situation is lessened, so I'm going to move on. But what's actually happened is that we've actually accumulated a whole bunch of programming of fear in our consciousness. And what begins to happen, see, this is the inner game of the law of attraction, the law of radiance. What begins to happen is that whatever we program our consciousness with, intentionally or unintentionally, we begin to emanate, we begin to attract through the laws of resonance from other people and situations. And that energy, if we're not careful, if we're not aware, if we're not conscious, begins to duplicate, it begins to intensify, it begins to replicate over the course of time. So when we say we have one program of fear that's established at one particular time in our consciousness, the program is established not because of what happened to us. I want to be clear on that. It's established because of our unconscious reactivity to what happened to us, based on our level of consciousness at that moment. We believed that something could make us afraid, something could limit us, and through that density of that reactionary energy, we created fear. We're creative beings like source intelligence. We can create. But what happens is, on the earth plane, we create things with greater density because we have forgotten sometimes through this illusory context we have in this physical world. We have often forgotten that we have the power to create good, abundance, joy, health. We have the power to transcend conditions, challenges in our life through our awareness. So a lot of times we're just giving knee-jerk reactions. Oh, that thing over there, that person's angry, they're angry at me, so I'm going to create anger. Reciprocity, I'm going to create more anger. That situation, that news item that came through is telling us all to be afraid of what's happening. So I don't know that I have the ability to create a higher intelligence, higher consciousness within myself. So I have the ability to create love in the face of fear. I have the ability to create an identity of abundance in the face of lack. I don't realize I have that, so I'm going to go right into that fear vibration, and I'm going to create fear. Remember, once again, it's not the situation, it's not the news item, it's not the person who is creating it for us. It's we ourselves, but we're not doing it consciously. We're doing it with reactivity to people, to circumstances. We don't know we're doing that because we forgot. We're not fully aware of what's going on within us. If we were really approaching this from a higher level of awareness, we might realize, here's another example, we might realize that, wait a minute, that news item came in. Ooh, I felt I felt like maybe it got to me a little bit. I feel like some fear coming up within me. We instantaneously realize, wait a minute, that situation cannot create fear for me. I am reacting based on where I am at in this moment. I have the ability to choose something different, to choose something higher. If we can make that shift, then we can instantly resolve the reactionary energy within us, and we can begin to choose something higher. And therefore, the energy of fear does not get repressed in our consciousness. So, what's happening for most of us right now, many of us, most people on the earth plane, is that we have this large accumulation of discordant energy from our whole soul's history. And that's part of our operating system. And it's causing us to create, to react, to emanate to things not based on what we really are wanting at this moment, but based on the programming that's within us. And that programming can seriously limit our ability to actually have a free choice about what it is that we're wanting. People tell me this all the time when they come to me for clearing work. They get caught onto this idea of law of attraction and affirmations, and I'm going to begin to create what it is I want in life. Okay, so that's a good principle. What can often happen there, though, is that people have a tremendous amount of wanting of good things in life. They want to create something, so they begin to talk about it. They begin to work with it consciously through wanting to create and attract something. What happens, though, is that conscious desire begins to hit up against all of their subconscious programming. If you had to put it in these terms, maybe the tip of the iceberg, 1% of our consciousness is our conscious mind, and 99% is the subconscious. And so whenever we're trying to create something consciously, when we begin to think about it, we begin to take action on it, we still have to contend with the fact that 99% of the energy that is going into allowing or going into restricting that creation is in our subconscious. And that can be where the blocks are really coming in. When we're desiring something, we're affirming it, we're wanting to create it, but we still can't seem to do that. It's because maybe 1% of us is in alignment with that thing, conscious mind. But 99% of us may have still the ramifications of all of the lack, the limitation, the fear that we have inadvertently created over the course of time. So, what can we do about that? Well, that's why I want to give you this experiential process that we're going to begin now. Because we have the ability to, using spiritual clearing technology, to be able to go into, connect with, and resolve the subconscious database progressively over the course of time. Many of you on this recording have experienced that with me. You've experienced what that can feel like. And honestly, one of the things it feels like is finally the ability to choose, the ability to create something that we want to without all of this weight, this karmic weight. It's like we've been trying to manifest for a long time, but we've been carrying around with us 500 pounds on a backpack this whole time, wondering why it's difficult to run. But as we begin to progressively over time release and resolve that subconscious energy, we begin to experience more of that freedom within our own being. Some people ask, well, if it was that easy to just ask to have it cleared, don't we have to live through it? If we created it, don't we have to live through it? And don't we have to experience it? And don't we have to, work through it consciously? And I'm like, that's an option. We can. And most people on the planet do not realize that their whole subconscious programming, they're just living out their karmic destiny. They're living out what has been given to them by their own inheritance from their past life history. They're just walking through each thing. If they can begin to resolve different problems as they come up, then they're actually beginning to work through that database. They're beginning to clear things. But there's this infinite power of, of divine grace. Got a little tea here. There's this infinite power of divine grace that we can access at any time to begin to help us. And some methods have developed over the course of time to help us to get out of our own way more so that we can begin to access that divine grace and begin to go into the subconscious to help resolve these issues. And I want to give you a demonstration of that for you now. It's already been kind of coming through this recording, but we're just going to sort of formally begin this process now. So I just invite you to take a deep breath and to relax and to just enter into a space of allowing in this moment. There's no need for efforting, there's no need for stress or for struggle or for trying to force something. I invite you to let go of any strategies you've been using, just for the purposes of this clearing, to try to make something happen. Or to even try to get rid of fear. Getting rid of fear is doomed to fail because until the energy has been dealt with on its own terms, we can't really just get rid of it. In this work, we're not getting rid of something. What we're doing is we're resolving the reasons why we created it in the first place. We're going into the subconscious. We're not using hypnosis, but we are accessing the subconscious. And as we do that, people can begin to feel lighter. They can begin to feel freer. I will say to you that people can sometimes feel very, very tired, very sleepy, lethargic during the clearing part, or even for a couple of hours or even a few days. Lately, people have been telling me when they're really going deep in clearing work, they've been feeling a couple of days sometimes of just like increased need for sleep, rest. They wonder, is everything okay with that? I will say, if any of those types of reactions happen to you in this work today, it's just because you're allowing the work very deeply and it's working really deeply. You will come out of it. Drink plenty of water, warm teas, nourishing foods, get grounded, take some deep breaths, and you will be able to work through it. So I'm going to guide you a little bit more as we work. So I'm just going to invite you to take a deep breath. Spirit, I'm going to ask in this moment, again, I'm referring to Spirit simply as the energy of our own infinite consciousness, the energy of Source itself. It's already here. We don't have to invoke it ever. It's already here. It's already here as the fullness of me and the fullness of you. We're going to ask that this higher intelligence run the initial infinite clearing protocol. Now, it's already been running throughout the course of this time. We're just going to ask it formally in this moment for each one who is watching this video right now. And some people will pick up this video in the future. It doesn't really make any difference. You'll be able to get the benefits of this as you listen, as you watch. We're asking to bring everyone to a place of 100% completion with this initial part of the process. And I get the feeling like a lot of us have already gotten there. Maybe you're noticing that. So take a deep breath, friends, and just begin to relax the body. We're going to ask the power of Spirit to just clear any blocks to the maximum efficacy of this work today, to make sure we're freed of all blocks to this work, and to make sure we're brought to 100%. 100% of us are brought to 100% completion with this initial part of the process. Really working through this beautiful energy, making sure any blocks to receptivity and allowing at 100% are able to be released and resolved and cleared now. So what we're doing right now is we're doing an initial part of the clearing process, and this part of the process is all about helping us to clear some of those patterns of resistance that may be coming up when we ask, we're asking the universe, please give me this or please help me in this way. The universe doesn't really need to be asked that because the universe is always helping and providing everything. But we need to become more receptive. Remember, this is all about, in a sense, not from a point of selfishness, but this is all about us. This is all about cultivating our ability to actually receive, to actually open up. And if we can figure out a way to do that, then the riches of every sort, healing, health, prosperity, joy, abundance, feeling like we're on our path, the riches of the universe are ours immediately. Which one of this group is open to clearing, Spirit? Or have we completed this initial process? Okay. Is there anything else to do on that? Anyway. So Spirit's indicating that we've already completed that process over the last half hour or so. So I'm going to ask for a little bit of feedback as we're continuing this part of the clearing. I'm going to ask if there are any specifics that any of you have who are watching this video live of a certain area of life where you feel like there's fear. So where our focus today is on fear. And again, like I said before, that can mean any number of different things. If there's any particular area of life that where you're feeling a sense of fear, and you wouldn't mind sharing that, I'm going to invite you to type that into the comments now so that we can include that for everyone. I mean, why not? We're going to include that for everyone in the course of this clearing. You don't necessarily have to type it because Spirit already knows what you're asking. So I'm going to ask in this moment that this power of higher consciousness for each of us begins to resolve and clear, all energetic investment programs of fear, all energetic investments such as even needs, wants, desires, or addictions, to have to continue to be in this space of fear. And I'm asking this higher consciousness, fear of lack, I'm seeing that, health issues coming up. So fear of heights and planes is a good use of this work. Financial poverty, fear of betrayal, deceit. Just saying these things now for us to continue to clear on. Full-time job, yes. Childhood, ancestral trauma. Good. I like this live feedback thing, huh? Just a Spirit, we're asking you to clear and resolve all past and present life investments of those energies, any needs, wants, desires, or bindings of various kinds of those situations, relationships, contexts, more financial fear, yeah, fear of own power, yeah, that's a good one. Constant fear, health change, career, moving forward, moving from fear to faith, yeah, fear of success. Let's just hold this space. Beautiful. Yeah, a lot is being covered here. These are really the major areas. We're asking that the power of our own higher consciousness resolve all of these permutations and aspects of fear, wherever they may be found. So here's, we're connecting in a particular way. Fear of providing for my family, seeing that coming up. Fear of lack of money, yes. More fear of success. I know this is a big one. People think that sounds like, well, shouldn't we just be able to overcome that automatically? But the thing is, the subconscious is running the show for a lot of us. And I've had that fear, a lot of these fears, for a lot of my life. Moving forward, yeah, fear of the unknown, fear of moving forward, big ones for people. Still continuing to clear, but again, we're asking you to work with anything hidden, dormant, inactive, as well as active for this entire group. We're also asking you to work with anything, fear of not having money or job, yes, yeah. We've got those covered. Fear of being good enough to receive, yeah, good, that's a great one. Spirit, fear of being seen. These are big issues, especially for people on this video, because we're all spiritual adepts in this lifetime. And we've often, a lot of the fears around being seen authentically, being seen in our work, being, even in financial success, being seen for who we are spiritually, being accepted, all of these types of things have their roots in persecution in past lives, where it was not, Facebook video notwithstanding, it was not okay for us to talk about these kinds of things in many cultures and contexts. Body shame, trauma. Let's just go with that. Yeah. Ooh, good clearing. Have you guys feel this? So if any of you want to comment about what your sense is of the feeling, so if our fear of letting go and letting God, yep. You're welcome to post about that too. If you're noticing any shifts or changes, sometimes that comes through in yourself. Fear of being seen, yes. Not deserving, not being good enough. Let's just clear on all this, Spirit. Again, we're connecting to this higher consciousness in a certain way, right? Tingling. Good. So those of you who read auras can probably see some stuff moving in my energy. So the way that this clearing works is it's not me who's clearing you. I want to be careful. I want to be careful to specify that. I have, over the course of years, developed a way of working here, based on some of my training and based on my own intuition, of working as a facilitator of clearing. So I'm holding a certain space. Yes, yawning. Right, tiredness, yawning, big one. A certain way of working that helps us to access this subconscious. Fear of growing older, bad health. Yes, good. Third eye, feeling very powerful. Uh-huh. I like this method. We're going to have to do this more often. Okay, this is cool. Kundalini rising, yeah. Feel it in your heart chakra. Good. So I'm going to ask for a few more specifics for this group that I typically ask for in my individual or my group clearings. The Spirit's already doing them, but sometimes it can help us to be able to hear what I'm actually asking for. Eyes watering. Yeah, that's called, maybe that's called tears? No, it's called. I like that. Fear of seeing. Yeah. Yep, these are big things for people on the path, right? Let's just also intend this clearing. As I said before in some of my posts on Facebook, let's intend this clearing to be for the raising of the collective. Remember, pain, fear of seeing, right, is a good one, yeah. Let's just invite. I often do this, even if I don't say it in my group clearings. Is I often ask that Spirit understand exactly anyone who also needs this clearing, who doesn't know how to connect with this group today, doesn't know us or whatever, and can benefit from it immediately. I'm asking that this clearing be done for them also. So remember, a prosperity mindset to all of this means that we only really get to keep what we give away, and that the more that we are able to receive, fear of lessons we have to learn, I'm seeing that coming up, the more that we are able to receive abundance, clearing, healing, joy, fulfillment, the more that we're able to receive that and to ground that into our own experience, the more that appears on the planet. Poverty consciousness tells us that I get mine and you're not going to get yours if, I get to receive mine. It's cutthroat, it's competition, it's us versus them. That's what poverty consciousness tells us. That's what a lot of news media tells us also. So, but that's not the truth of Spirit. The truth is that the more loving we are, the more love there is on the planet. The more other people... You ever notice this? This is so frustrating to me sometimes. I gotta tell you honestly, from my human perspective, when I'm feeling like overwhelmed or just like not in a good mood, I notice other people treat me that way also. And I find that my situations, I'm bumping into things at the grocery store and people are just in a pissy mood and all this kind of thing. I find, though, that without even saying anything to anyone, when I'm feeling like, I'm just feeling really good, I've just come from a day of doing clearings, and I'm out at the store, the supermarket or something, when I'm feeling in a good mood, people unconsciously start responding to me all of a sudden with, kind words. I notice that. And so what I'm saying by that is it's up to us to be able to ground this consciousness, be able to accept and receive it for us, because our Thich Nhat Hanh also says, as peace is received and open to in our own being, then we can create peace in the body. We begin to create peace in the emotions and the mind. We begin to create peace in our families. We begin to create peace then in our communities, in our cities, and we begin to create peace in our countries and the world. It doesn't really go out exactly in that linear way, but what he's saying is that as we begin to feel it and raise our vibration, we begin to create that on the planet. That's why I've had a few, I don't get many negative comments on YouTube, but, I've had some, 300,000 views of my videos over the last few years. And occasionally someone will post on there like, oh, that guy he's doing all these videos about money and prosperity. That guy clearly doesn't work, or else why would he be making these videos? So I might just delete those comments. But what I want to say to that is, that's exactly what prosperity consciousness is all about sharing. It's not about, well, I'm going to get mine and then I'm not going to tell anybody about it so that they don't steal my stuff. That's not prosperity consciousness. Fear of being on my own. Yeah, Spirit, let's just include all of this, please. All known and unknown fears at this moment that are going on, or all investments of energy that are still fear-based. Fear is a particular level of consciousness on the scales of consciousness, and we're asking that we just simply be de-invest of any need, want, desire, or even addiction to being at that level of consciousness, any part of our being. So Spirit, we're asking you to go through our entire soul's history at this moment and help us, even during the course of this video, to become even increasingly more available to a deeper amount of clearing. What I like about group clearings also is there's no real efforting involved, because we're helping to hold this space for each other. I don't know about you, but when I do group clearings about twice a month, typically full moon and new moon, and I end up personally feeling incredibly good over the course of days following those. I think that the group clearing work really deepens and exponentially even the experience of what we're doing. So we're still asking Spirit to clear. Now continue to breathe, friends, because there can be also patterns of resistance that come up during the course of a clearing like this. And so we're asking Spirit to continue to clear and resolve all investments in the energy of self-punishment, self-limitation, self-destruction, self-blame, self-hatred, selfishness, self-centeredness, this whole identification. We're asking Spirit to transmute, resolve, and alchemize all energetic investment in the energy of identification with content. That's why I started this recording out almost an hour ago. Identification with content, and we're asking to transmute and alchemize that into the energy of identification with consciousness behind the content. de-investing ourselves from the illusion that we've created inadvertently through reaction, through believing that the physical body is all there is, the physical world is all there is, we're just a bunch of random chemicals. De-investing us from that so that we can begin to come into a place of understanding the consciousness behind that. That's what healing is. I love this work so much because after thousands and thousands of these clearings, working with individual people over the years, I've realized a lot of spiritual principles. You're feeling tired. Yeah, I get that. So go into that. If you fall asleep during this time, you might want to even situate yourself into a place where you can. That's okay. It just means that you're getting a lot of response. You're going deep with this work. And so that can be beneficial. Sometimes people need a couple of hours of nap. I probably should have warned people about that before this clearing started. Sometimes that can happen, and if that does happen, it's an integration time, and you'll be feeling most likely like better, more expanded, more clear, more relief. Some of the ways people talk about this work to me oftentimes is that they often will feel a greater connection with an area of their own potential, a greater ability to choose. Something that they felt like, I just can't do this. I just can't go there. I can't manifest this. I don't feel confident. I don't feel empowered about this part of my purpose. They'll begin to feel all of a sudden like either not as charged about that, or like, hey, that's not a big deal. Or they'll begin to feel like, you know what, I can actually do that. And the change that's happened is we're not fixing the problem. We're not fixing, I tell people, you're not coming to me for a cure. You're not coming for me to fix some problem in your life. The problem doesn't need fixing because the problem doesn't exist outside of your own experience of it. So all we really need to do is to release and to resolve what's going on within us. As we do that, you notice what's happening right now? As we do that, we're not fixing something. We're not begging and pleading to a reluctant deity to give us something. All we're doing is we're becoming available. We're becoming released. We're becoming available to the solution. We're becoming relaxed into the solution. That's where the technique that we're using right now is helping us to be able to do that, even though I'm not talking a lot about that. It's happening for you at a subconscious level. So I want you to just take a deep breath. Continue to relax. We're holding a space here. So what's happening also is the energy, as I'm facilitating, the energy is running through me. Before this video began, I do a series of clearings and processes of myself so that I can really sense and feel that direct connection and relationship. That helps me. And then we come into this work, and I can then hold that space. But again, this is really between you and God, which is actually your own higher self, your own higher consciousness. This work is happening based on your unique evolution right now, based on your readiness and willingness to let go. So we're not fixing something. This is not a quick fix thing. What's happening is that a lot of stuff is getting resolved, but only that which is karmically appropriate to you today is getting resolved. And so that's why I look at this work more like a therapeutic process, that if you do this work over time, what happens is that a day from now, a week from now, a month from now, you will be at a different point in your journey. You will be more open, more available, more ready to be able to release and to be able to let go. And if we were to go and to do a clearing at that point, there would be a lot more stuff coming up than just what we're working with today. So this group is open to clearing. Spirit, where are we at in this process, please? We're about 50%. Okay. Spirit, continue to clear and resolve. Yeah, so this is a progressive process. If your whole karmic database were able to be cleared at once, people ask this question a fair amount. If your whole database, now think about this, way less than 1% of what has been set in motion in your consciousness is what you can think about or remember from birth till now. Okay, that's important to remember that. If all of the database was able to be cleared at once, that would be not able to be handled by you or me or anyone. Our nervous system, we could not handle that level. I mean, imagine, even with the reactions people have to this clearing work sometimes, it's pretty substantial and can often throw things a little bit out of whack for a few days, not because the clearing isn't good, but because people are used to, their nervous system, their brain is very used to dealing constantly. Fear of not solving problems. Yep, I got that. Let's continue to clear on that. This entire group. Any new fears that feel like they're arising for you, friends? Just fear of making decisions. Feel free to indicate. I'll speak as many of them as I can, and we'll ask for the group to be cleared of all of those too. I love this. Actually, this is fun for me, and the way I like to spend my off days oftentimes is just coming up with, and they'll often come intuitively to me, like, okay, I'm in this space of clearing, so I'm going to ask, what beliefs am I being brought to my consciousness that I can work on resolving, that are limiting me right now? Left elbow feels really cold. So if you're feeling particular sensations, heat, cold, pain, tingliness, maybe in certain parts of your body, sometimes this can also be the result, fear of difficulty breathing. Okay. Yep, this helps with ancestral karma. It certainly does. On that note, the karma, people tend to think about sometimes as our karma is just ancestral karma. It's like the stuff that's in our lineage. I tend to fear of becoming irrelevant. Yeah, I tend to think about it not quite that way. That we have chosen our particular ancestry and our path here in order to work through certain issues in our lineage. And it absolutely is the case that if you're listening to this recording right now, there are changes that are happening in your ancestors, your parents, your children, your siblings. There are changes that are being offered to them. I can't guarantee that they're going to receive those, but there are changes that are being made in your whole ancestral line, whether you have children, whether you've already had children, you're doing the clearing now. Fear of being hurt by others. Yeah, Spirit again, resolving. Let's just do some infinite relationship clearing protocol here, Spirit. In all relevant relationships, all triggers, Spirit. We're also asking for the infinite daily revised energy balancing protocol to be performed for each person. So fear of rejection. I feel like I'm a televangelist at this moment. I'm just like, these words are popping on my screen. Okay, so Spirit, clearing, healing, balancing, opening, aligning. Yep. All levels, layers, bodies, all templates, all energetic bodies, please. Just go with the full complement of DNA, Spirit, in this moment. Continuing to breathe. Yeah. Let me see here. I might need to go. Fear of getting it wrong, fear of failure. Let me just go into, I have my computer open also here so that I can add new members of the group, and I can check to see some of your questions that I can't quite get on my phone. Let's see here. Fear of getting it wrong, yes. Fear of failure. Spirit, continue to clear. Isn't this beautiful? I wish we were all in person. Okay. Get clear to a higher percentage. Yeah. Okay, now I can actually see who's commenting here. Thanks everybody for your comments. So if you're feeling particular pain, I want to speak a couple things here. If you're feeling pain in the physical body, oops, let me add another person here. If you're feeling pain in the physical body, to me, in my experience with this work, it often means that we're holding the particular karma, the fears, whatever you're wanting to call it, that we're working on right here in the physical body. For some people, they don't experience their unresolved issues as physically. They might experience them more emotionally, they might experience them mentally, they might experience them as certain areas of limitation in different areas of life. If you've been working in the physical body in terms of healing, this type of clearing might begin to bring up some of those issues to the surface. My experience is that it's temporary. And if you continue to breathe through that and to allow and to just keep affirming that your body is beginning to reveal greater and greater wholeness, greater and greater healing, greater levels, and that this is just simply what's happening is that the way that the body mind it has been suppressing certain energies might be in the physical body. And so as those things begin to come up in this way of working, we're beginning to clear all of those subconscious places of resistance that we may have had unknowingly. And so sometimes the symptoms can begin to increase temporarily as the clearing takes place. And that just, that can happen emotionally for people. It happens more often emotionally. People begin to feel sad, they begin to feel angry, they begin to feel tears coming forward, even sometimes for hours or days after clearing, and they're wondering, like, was something wrong? Did the clearing make that happen? And I say to people that the clearing isn't making it happen. What's happening is the clearing is revealing. It's creating an easier way for the energy that's been pushed down into this neat package of like repression for a period of time. It's creating an easier way for that energy to come forward. And that's actually a good part of the process. I will also tell people that if they're experiencing emotional symptoms as a result of this work temporarily, that those things are things that need to be felt and processed emotionally. This work, remember, is not clearing in spite of anybody. It's not like, well, I'm going to clear and fix you, and then you're not going to have to like deal with whatever you have to deal with. Your higher intelligence understands some things need to be felt and processed and acknowledged consciously. I tell people constantly in this work, okay, now you're more clear, now you're more ready to go forward and, for instance, work on some forgiveness work with someone who's hurt you, or someone that, or yourself, work on some self-love, and now you're more empowered. As you begin to do that, as you begin to, this comes full circle to what we were talking about earlier, as you begin to engage in conscious practices like affirmation, like prayer, like eating for your body type and nutritional program and supplements and all of it, and forgiveness work, as you begin to do this stuff consciously, what begins happening is you become more and more available to the work of spirit as your own higher intelligence. And this kind of work then is even more powerful. And so it goes around in a circle. As this work begins to then become more powerful, it enables you to have greater access in your conscious moment to more health, healing, wholeness, vitality, abundance. And as you take action in those areas, it then begins to enable the subconscious to be able to become even more open and available. So there's this constant ebb and flow. I've worked with people before that are really just looking for someone to fix them. They're coming to me, I think this happens a lot for people who are doing healing work. Okay, kind of like a medical model, Western medical model. Please just fix me. I don't want to know anything about this, just fix me. And I often can tell after a clearing has taken place that this person may have received even 0% of the benefit of the clearing, not because I'm not doing what I normally would do in a work, or because there's something else wrong. It's because the person is not actually receptive. They're not receptive to their own transformation. And so that needs to be a part of the equation. The more receptive, the more open, the more conscious we are in our daily practice, the more that allows spirit to say, you know what, Michael, he's got that. He's got that issue going. He's figured that out, so he doesn't need this karma anymore. And then the more I don't need that karma anymore, the more free I become in other areas of my life to resolve. I hope that makes sense. It's the conscious recreating the subconscious. The subconscious creates the conscious. So that's the issue of choice I was saying earlier. Most of the world is operating just based on, they don't even know that their whole life is based on subconscious programming just trying to come through. Karma, you could call it that, coming through. And they're not even aware that that's what it is, but they're just working logically to try to fix and solve and feel a little bit better. That's their karmic progress in this life. Now what we're doing today is we're interrupting that and saying, wait, there's so much more here that's possible than simply having to live out the logical sequential karma that we have brought in with us. Spirit, I'm asking you to run initial infinite clearing, also run initial infinite space clearing protocol for each person here once again. And we're also asking you to continue to work with all forms of fear that are being come up, known or unknown, in this work. Yeah, ancestral, I'm seeing ancestral and fears related to men. Great, yes. Fears of heights, yes, we're seeing that. I think I might have already mentioned that. There can be a lot of literal past life issues around certain types of fears, by the way, as well. There may be times where we've fallen from a high distance in past lives, and that can create a literal fear of doing that. It's your own body's self-protective mechanism in this life, trying to prevent you from making that same error again. So that can be a literal version of that, but sometimes there may not be. Like, for instance, I'm going to go there with allergies, other types of physical health issues. There's been some discussion, some of you already know this on this group, that allergies may be created by being harmed by that particular substance in a previous lifetime. Asthma, for instance, often comes up as issues related to dying from smoke inhalation in previous lifetimes, or fires. It can be literal like that, but of course then, issues, fear of financial poverty, lack of community support. Yes, fear of change. If I haven't mentioned any of these, we're just continuing to go with this. As we're talking, and as we're spending a little bit longer in this part of the clearing, we're talking more, and you're thinking about some things as we're working here. We're beginning to bring up even more in the karmic database. So I'll just say in this work, fear of God, fear of spirit, fear of releasing, who will I be without my stuff? These are all forms of fear that we can often have. Continuing to resolve here, spirit. Again, we're looking at all dormant and active scenarios, contexts, relationships, situations, past and present life roots, resolving all common lifetime spirit, resolving all the lifetimes themselves, if possible, where this energy has been created. We're just even looking for that. Remember, none of us can really make a clearing be deeper than it is, but we can become more available and more receptive to releasing. And that's what we're doing in this work. So Spirit, also anything else that needs to be looked at that is coming up in this group? Yeah. Good. Fear of not fulfilling your destiny. Yeah. Let's include that. That's a good one. These are all good for all of us. I want to say, on that note, people come to me oftentimes asking about soul's purpose. Tell me what I'm here for. Our destiny is the same, really, for each one of us on one level. Our destiny, first and foremost, is to find God. Our destiny is to be clear, to be ascended, to be resolved. For all of us, that's our first and primary purpose. Once you are moving in that direction, it becomes easier to fulfill the secondary purpose, which is fear of betrayal and deceit, right? The secondary purpose, which is expressing our unique giftedness in service to others. And that's really all it is. It's not, to me, I was taught always earlier on that it's all about finding what God is trying to, do through you. You're supposed to be a butcher, or whatever career option. Someone like me is supposed to tell you what your career is supposed to be, but it's not really like that. There's something unique that we have to kind of go on that period of discovery. Clearing work can be helpful around that, but also we have to do conscious visioning work and really look at our guidance, look at what we love, look at how are we guided to serve, landing full-time job and financial independence. Let's just clear that. Let's just not only clear fear around this, let's just clear blocks to this for all of us here, and being used fully in a way that's fulfilling and nurturing, in a way of strong service to others. Just clear any blocks. Also to identifying giftedness. Yeah. Just clear any blocks to that now, Spirit. Right. Taking a different... Just looking at the comments here. Continue to resolve and clear here, Spirit. Yeah. It's a big clearing happening, huh? Blocks around financial security, childhood ancestral trauma. Yeah. Just continue to clear and resolve here, Spirit. Any resistance patterns coming up in this work today? For us, for the collective. Again, any vested interest, Spirit, that are coming in from us, individually, from this group, or from any other being known or unknown, that's saying, no, you're supposed to, it's crabs in the bucket, you're supposed to be that way that you thought yourself to be prior to this time. We're asking that all of that be resolved now. There can be a lot of considerations when it comes to clearing, including what I call vested interests that we may have in staying stuck to certain energies in the past. We may not know that. Or vested interests that we may feel coming from our parents or from other unknown factors. If we were to step out into our truth, we might think sometimes, well, what would my parents wouldn't be okay with that. Or some other being that we don't even remember from a past life might not be okay with that. And so, yeah, let's just work on finance here. Yeah, strong pulling sensation. Good. So I want to say also, unlike, there's many different forms of wonderful healing and clearing work out there. This work can be felt, certainly, fear of my own power. Let's continue to go with that. This work can be felt in the body, can be felt in the emotional body, can be felt in the physical body, the mind, certainly, the brain, definitely can be felt there. But we're not specifically working with the chakras, feeling not good enough or not smart enough. We're not specifically working with the immediate energy field of your physical body. I want to say that. We're working with the most remote and distant aspects of your soul, including all the way back to your initial creation as a soul. Let's just see here. Right, let me just get this comment. Somehow, let's see here. Some of the lack of health, lack of abundance, right? Health change, career moving forward. All these things are being included. Sometimes the comments are not completely coming through for me easily. Yeah, but we know it's all being taken care of. Yeah, beautiful. Moving forward. Fear of not having what it takes. I want us all to continue to also focus on, and we're identifying fears in this work, which is really good. That's what I've asked you to do. Fear, moving from fear to faith, right? I'm seeing that coming up now. I want us to also remember in this work and begin to focus in this moment on what's beginning to emerge from within you. What's beginning to emerge? We've identified a lot of fears, and we're working with that for this group right now. The energy is still flowing strongly. I want you to close your eyes if you would like to. You don't have to. Providing for my family, yeah, let's just work on that as well. I want you to close your eyes and begin to feel a new factor emerging in this moment. That's what happens with this clearing work, is that, I don't want us to be so focused on what's wrong that we continue to create a consciousness of what's wrong. It's good to focus on that. It's good to know I need to work on this area. Here's a limiting belief I have. These are all good. But I want you to begin to feel in this group, fear of expressing myself. I want you to begin to feel that as this clearing is taking place, something is emerging within you. Maybe you want to begin to talk about that. You can write that in the comments if you'd like as well. I know some of you have talked about different sensations happening, feeling of energetic motion, pulling sensations, feeling in the physical body. As I've said before, some of the common ways people can sense this. Yeah, joy. Joy is being permitted. Ooh, I like that. Remember, joy does not need to be acquired. Joy does not need to be acquired. Abundance does not need to be acquired. Right? Success does not need to be acquired. It is the truth of who you are already. You don't need to beg and plead and pray for it. Prayer work, if you do it, is about shifting your own consciousness. Yeah. Yeah. Beautiful. I'm seeing like streams of comments coming in. I am reading everything, everybody. So what's happening in this work, this has been so significant for me to know over the course of years, is that we are revealing a truth within you. We're revealing something within you that was previously pushed down by the programming. We're not making you successful or healing or healed or whole or in a place of greater peace and equanimity. What's happening is that we're revealing those qualities within you. Yeah. We're revealing those qualities within you. They're already there. Remember I said before, you are already one with Spirit. This means that you have all that Spirit has already. Wholeness, abundance, joy, peace, health, vitality, enough. All the qualities of Spirit are the qualities of you. I want you to just take a deep breath and let that in for a moment. Even affirming in this moment, all that Spirit is, I am. Warmth pulsing down the crown and forehead. Yeah. So let's get down to the brain structure here, please. Infinite nervous system protocol, brain protocol. Let's just do all that now. all that spirit is, because spirit is a presence, and you emanate from that. Now, there's stuff to work on. Yep, there's stuff to clear. Yeah. But that stuff is minor compared to the truth of who you are. Yeah. Feeling another layer of awareness. Ooh, I like that. I can't really see who wrote that, but thank you for sharing that. Continue to breathe, relaxing the body if you can. Yeah, relaxing the body. Spirit, continue to clear. Again, creating it, and I'm just going to speak this for this group, clearing to 100% place where the physical body, every cell, every organ, action, and function of the physical body, the etheric body, the chakra system, chakra complexes, channels, connections, nadis, meridians, emotional body, mental body, spiritual bodies, all levels, layers, and bodies, mind, spirit, cleared to 100% awareness, availability, consciousness, presence, and receptivity to 100% of the benefits of this work today, and a maximum of 0% blocking, obstructing, or delaying of any form of this clearing today. Yeah, feelings of peace, right? So what's happening here is this is you. Any feelings that you're feeling that are feeling kind of good, like balanced, more peacefulness. Some people have the disconcerting sometimes experience of, wait a minute, I can't even feel how fearful I was 5 minutes ago. Any of you have that? I can't even energize this belief that everything is going to be terrible. Sometimes that energy comes through. Remember that this is clearing, it's resolving old stuff. And what's left after you resolve the old stuff is your truth, your oneness with spirit, the peace, the power of who you are. That oneness is all that's left. Relatively speaking. So there's still going to be more to clear after the course of this clearing session, but you're going to have a layer, a substantial layer even, of release that's going to emanate. And that release can be felt as, all needs met, peace, relief, joy, a sense that all is well, a sense that things are being taken care of, a sense of greater trust in the universe, that all is being taken care of. Taking a deep breath in this moment. Continuing to work. I know we're going a long time, but those of you who are in it with me, staying here for this, or need to go and watch some later or not, that's fine. Yeah, just taking a deep breath. Resolving any needs, wants, desires, spirit, to continue to have these qualities of fear, resistance, limitation within our being now. Beautiful. Beautiful. Feeling very peaceful. Yeah. There's a lot that's resolving here. Muscles in the stomach relaxing. Yeah, right? So this can penetrate, this can penetrate right down to the physical body, right down to our feeling state. That's our hope. Yeah, good. Just by being in this high energy field. Again, nothing specific about any particular one of you kind of coming up right here. Group clearings I don't tend to do that kind of information. But you brought up some of your challenges, and we're beginning to work with that. So some of you are saying you're feeling perhaps pain. Is this physical pain in the body right now? Yeah. I'm wondering if any of you who've been feeling any physical sensations during the course of this clearing are beginning to sense any shift with those. You don't have to share, or you can message me afterwards if you want to. Yeah, we're revealing. Right. Yeah. Remember all of these ways in which we're seeing fears in our life. We're seeing certain contexts. All these different areas that we're seeing them are really just our own projections. We're just seeing our own, past limitations showing up in different areas of life. But whatever the type of fear is, as it's released, simply our consciousness begins to rise higher, We begin to see a little bit more like spirit sees, right? And we begin to realize a couple of things about that. One is that as we rise higher in consciousness and see as spirit sees, we begin to realize that we haven't really ever had any problems. I know that's a kind of a difficult place to get to sometimes for us initially, but we realize that the problems aren't really the level of seriousness that they have seemed to be. Yeah. And now, someone was mentioning here, I can't quite tell who it is again, something about shifting, not shifting deep anxiety. Maybe that's this clearing, it's leaving things not completely felt, not completely resolved. That can happen sometimes. Again, if you're in the midst of a process where there's been some chronic issues going on, we're beginning to dislodge things, we're beginning to move things around. What I often tell people is that there can be additional action steps. Maybe you are already aware of some of them. Maybe there's new ones that as you reflect on this clearing will begin popping up into your consciousness, will begin you'll be getting guided to. There may be some action steps to take to help now that you're clearer at a subconscious level, to begin to put into place some action steps that you're guided to help. Because remember, the conscious present moment body practices that we can do are always interplaying with the subconscious. And so as the subconscious gets freer, sometimes we become more available to solutions at the conscious level. What I often tell people, especially if there's been some deeper, longer going issues, is that this work is important to do regularly. I look at it more like a therapeutic process. Because there are layers, and because, remember, if we're having any type of problem in this lifetime, especially one that seems like it's very difficult, or one that's been going on for a long time, it's because there's often hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes of karma that are at the energetic crux of that issue. And so, you might say, well, is this a punishment now? Am I getting punished for all that karma? No, the karma is the punishment. It's not really a punishment at all. Remember, life is progressive. I'm putting a lot of teachings and stuff into this work that we're doing here, but what I'm wanting to say is that your ability to find your preeminent purpose of your soul, which is about finding your oneness with spirit, is the purpose that you came here to this planet to do. That's the number one purpose. In order to do that, you have to deal with the stuff that's most pressing in your subconscious, in your karmic record, because that stuff is going to be like a weight that's preventing you from finding God. And so that stuff has a way of coming right to the forefront of our being as, I cannot just go around this problem. I can't just go around, I can't pretend it's not there, I have to face it. And that's where our opportunity for maximum growth comes in. Now, sometimes that takes a little while to unwind. But the more challenging the issue, the more physicalized the issue has become, often the more layers there are. Because I will say that the physical body is the last place where our karma really shows up. Doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it may take, again, a stronger commitment to unwind that. Ooh, spirit, again, okay, let's begin to wind this down. Feel a lot of energetic shift here. Bring the infinite completion process, spirit, to completion for each person now. Again, clearing the amount of blocking any person might be doing at any level of their being down to 0. Clearing the space, spirit, clearing receptivity to 100%, making sure the soul is clear to the maximum level possible. Any wants, needs, desires, or even any intentions, addictions, stagnation to continue to create fear, or anything that we have worked with, knowingly or unknowingly in the course of this clearing, I'm asking that all of that be resolved as well. Remember that beyond the course of this clearing, we have to begin to exercise more awareness with what we're creating in life. We could continue to go down the path of, well, I've always just been a fearful person, so I'm going to continue to create more. Or we can begin to draw a line in the sand today and say, well, wait a minute, there's been a significant shift that's happened within me. And now I feel like my ability to choose what I'm going to do next, what I'm going to speak, what I'm going to think, what action steps I'm going to take, that ability to choose has been significantly raised. So we have to take that power and begin to create something and choose something that's higher for ourselves. Sometimes people get onto a spiritual path and all of a sudden their diet begins to shift because they realize, wait a minute, That's what I'm being called upon to eliminate certain foods and add certain other ones. Or they begin to not hang around certain people anymore. They begin to stop watching certain news programs, or some things shift. It's all about raising. Yeah, I can feel that, feeling tired. Yeah. I'm just grateful. I was telling my wife this the other day. I'm just grateful that I do not feel the same sense of tiredness when I'm facilitating this work that people who are receiving it do, or else I don't know how I'd get through my day. So, continue to breathe. Hope none of you had plans for your Sunday afternoon or wherever you are, so you can rest and integrate. Yeah, we're almost done with the clearing portion of the work. I want to say, as we begin to conclude this session, that my intention is to really create this and cultivate this kind of community connection here on Facebook. This group where we can talk about, I have people in this group that I've worked with before, people in this group that I haven't worked with before in a conscious way. But I feel like having these kinds of conversations, exposing people to this kind of work is so significant, so powerful. It's a very, very important part of my mission on the planet, to be able to practice this and to learn new things and to be able to share with people, because it's made such a huge difference in my life, and it's making such a huge difference in many people's lives. It's not like a quick fix kind of thing of like, it's going to fix me in spite of myself, or it's going to fix my problem. We already know that. We've already talked about that. So I am going to, in the comment section after this video is complete, I am going to place a coupon in there. If any of you are guided to want to continue this work with me, at this point, there's a couple of different options. There's group clearings that you can see on my website that I offer twice a month. There's also individual work, which I highly recommend to you if you haven't done that before. And that's available at 60 or 30-minute options. If you haven't worked with me individually before, I recommend doing 60 minutes, though. Email me if that feels other than possible for you. I'm going to place a coupon code in there that will be valid through Friday of this week. If you want to do something, you can book it any time in the coming weeks. But if you book it by Friday, that coupon code will be active, and you can do the clearing this week or in future weeks. I want to put that out there because I want to get the energy moving in your own life, and show you how beneficial this work can be ongoingly. Again, this Facebook group, my YouTube channel, the group clearings, individual work, it's important to be in this work on a regular basis, in my opinion. And I want to encourage that for as many of you who are open to that as possible. Again, any questions you have about this video, this clearing that we've done today, you're welcome to post it in the group. If the questions or comments feel too personal, you can message me or email me. That's also great. I will say to each one of you as we're beginning to wind things down here that it's important to realize there's been an energetic process that's happened for you today. It's continuing to happen and come to a conclusion momentarily. And so it's important for you to take care of yourself in this process, to drink plenty of water. If it's cold where you are especially, I would recommend drinking plenty of tea or some warming soups. Have some warm, nourishing, gentle food after this. Get plenty of rest if you need that. Just remember what I said to you in the course of this clearing. This work works very strongly with the brain in the way that we're intersecting with our thinking process from past lives. So it's important. Sometimes the brain will just need sleep in order to integrate. So please take time to do that. I would also recommend doing something grounding, maybe going for a walk, doing a little bit of gentle yoga or Qigong or Taichi, something where you can just kind of balance the body, get into your body again. Some of these practices over the next couple of days could be really helpful for you. And continue to observe your experience. The clearing will deepen over the course of the coming days. And it will also, remember, the subconscious is always feeding into the conscious, and so it will also be prompting you to want to make changes in your thinking, in your actions, in your life. And that's called guidance, okay? It's important for you to be open and available to listening to that guidance as it begins to come up for you in the course of the coming days. Because remember, this work is about clearing the subconscious, but it's also about taking action. And then as you take more inspired action, your own higher intelligence realizes, hey, Michael doesn't need that karma, or whoever your name is, you don't need that energetic programming. You've already cleared the need for that, and so the karma and the energy can begin to clear as well. It's a cycle. It's a learning and growth process. In this life, with these kinds of techniques, we are now able to do this work more quickly than we've ever been able to do it before. There we go. Just take a deep breath. Beautiful. Yeah. Yeah, Linda, we're still going to clear on yours. Yep. I don't know exactly when some of these items are coming up, but Spirit already knows. I tell you, I've had many people before tell me, man, I really felt that clearing at the time that you did it. And I tell them sometimes later, I wasn't doing the clearing at that time. I did it hours later. So Spirit, based on your own faith and intention, knows how to do this work with you. And it's available for us to receive. Just take a deep breath. Yep. Relaxing. We're kind of winding down. There's a lot to clear. I think I've worked with a number of people here in this clearing that I've never worked with before. And of course, this clearing is also being correlated to people who will watch it in the future that I don't even know who they are. As weird as that might be. But it does work, as I've discovered over the years. Yeah, there we go. Good. Let's bring us to 100% completion, Spirit. Infinitely guaranteed. Any resistance to receiving? Clearing now. There we go. What percent of this group is cleared, Spirit? What percent complete are we? Anything else to clear for this group today? And Spirit's indicating no. So we're going to just take a moment here to integrate and ground. The energetic portion of it, in terms of my facilitation, is now complete. So I just want you to take a deep breath. What I also recommend to you is to take the palms of your hands and bring them over your lower abdomen. Right around the navel or just below the navel. And just place the palm, one palm over the other palm, like this, towards the body at the navel area. This is the lower dantian point in your body, and can actually be very helpful for a couple of minutes just to breathe gently and gradually in this area. And a lot of energy work can be imbalancing from the sense that it puts a lot of higher spiritual frequencies into our being, and we need to ground, we need to rebalance. That's where the food component, the exercise component, and the grounding component come in. So, I know we've already gone a really long time at this point. What I may ask at this point is we can continue the conversation over the comments of this video in this group, and I invite you to do that. I'll check any people I haven't responded to through the video. I will check that over the next couple of days and get back to you there. As I said a moment ago, I'm also about to now place a coupon code into the comment field of this group. So if you want to deepen your experience of this work or work on specific other areas of your life in consciousness so that you can be more empowered to be able to make choices, have choices, to be able to shift things in your life, do check that out. So, friends, I want to thank you so much for joining me today. I don't exactly know when it will be that I will plan to do another one of these group events, but there's many different topics that we could talk about over the course of time, and how energy creates our consciousness and our awareness. So how the subconscious creates and what we can do to be able to resolve that. So again, be in touch with me, any questions, comments you have. And thanks so much for joining me, friends. I'm going to leave this video to conclude now. Thanks, friends. Peace.